Let's go back to training camp of last year. LA Rams head coach Sean McVay announced once again he would not play any starters for any preseason game. Not only that, even some key reserves like backup quarterback John Wolford, he wouldn't see a single snap. The Rams went on to lose every single preseason game. That losing streak was so devastating. Actually, it wasn't. The Rams won the Super Bowl. So here is a question. If the defending champions didn't take preseason results too seriously, should you? Welcome to the Football Analytics Show podcast. I'm Egros as part of our preview of the upcoming football season. There was a time when the rule of thumb for the preseason was as long as your team went at least 2-2, they are quote-unquote eligible to win the Super Bowl. From 2008 to 2018, every Super Bowl champ won at least 2 preseason games. But the following season, the Kansas City Chiefs broke that trend going 1-3 in August. Then, after the COVID season, the Rams did what they did. In reality, preseason record has never mattered when it comes to projecting the world champion. Numerous studies have looked broadly at if these results project more victories, a winning record, the playoffs, really anything. Basic approaches have not been able to uncover any trend. Now, in recent years, Kostya Medvedovsky conducted his own study with a more advanced padding problem and concluded that preseason data from 2001 to 2019 can help us adjust regular season win projections by 1.5 wins above or below the sportsbook projection. However, in today's preseason with one fewer game and potentially more player-for-player trades in the future where roster shakeups are more commonplace, Ben Baldwin, and others have acknowledged that relationship between preseason and regular season, it's gotten considerably weaker. There's simply too much variance when it comes to how much different franchises approach these exhibitions. While the Rams don't play their starters, Buffalo quarterback and MVP favorite Josh Allen did play in week 2 of this preseason. The Baltimore Ravens have also had a certain seriousness to August, leading to the longest preseason winning streak in the NFL, and it's safe to say Buffalo and Baltimore have open championship windows just like the Rams. Even the reasons for how much time to play starters can vary. Addressing injuries in the offseason can matter, but so can building a winning culture. So aside from starters on both sides of the ball playing few to no snaps, what are other reasons why preseason record does not matter, and can those lessons give us a betting edge of any kind? Actually, yes. Because the sample size for many starters can be too small to be useful, projecting individual performances can be a fool's errand. Even fringe players may look one way in August, but another way once the games begin to count. After all, finalizing a 53-man roster isn't easy. One reason for the challenge is the playbook is much more vanilla in the preseason. And there are obvious reasons for this. Not putting too much on film, not including plays that could turn into violent hits like throws over the middle, and not game planning for your opponent, but instead evaluating the talent you have. A big difference. A few years ago, Timo Riske of PFF took the plunge into preseason data to see what among plays, play formations, and anything else could be representative of the regular season. Individual performances and player decision-making may not be, but offensive formations actually are, specifically when it comes to passing schemes. Pre-snap formations are predictive from the preseason to the regular season. Horizontal distance to the center, which is a fancy way of saying if the outside receivers are closer to each other, closer to the offensive line, or if they are closer to the sidelines. Horizontal distance to the center is 1 point. Percentage of routes out of the tight end position is another. Percentage of routes out of the slot. Those details about formations are consistent. However, once the ball is snapped, most anything can happen. Now, it is worth noting for run plays and run blocking, there's less to learn. Again, once the play begins, the direction the run goes in and which running backs will be successful, those are relative unknowns in August. Now, when it comes to defense, coverages do seem to be predictive. For instance, frequency of playing cover one happens about as often in August as the rest of the year. Defensive coordinators are installing a system, and the evaluation process involves finding the right guys to play in that system. Overall, PFF's Kevin Cole put it well when he tweeted that things a team can completely control, like pre-snap formation, are predictive, but things that are not entirely in a player and team's control, those aren't predictive. So now that you know how to enjoy watching preseason football, let's circle back. What can we glean from these lessons? Again, how bunched together an offense is pre-snap is predictive. While preseason data can be hard to track down, using next-gen stats, we can look at last season's formation width, see if coaches and coordinators remain consistent, then determine what to expect going forward. Last season, the Arizona Cardinals had the most spread-out formations. After all, Cliff Kingsbury runs the air raid spread offense, right? As much grief as quarterback Kyler Murray has received this offseason, that offense was largely successful. And if the receiver position can be sorted out to start the year, there is reason for optimism. Now, at the other end of the spectrum is San Francisco and the New York Jets. The 49ers are starting a new gunslinger in Trey Lance, but the Jets have kept every coach and should have Zach Wilson ready to play within the first few weeks of the season. A quarterback going into his second season should lead to some improvement, especially with coaching consistency, but what we see from the Jets pre-snap should also remain the same. Formation width is not predictive of success, but the width itself is predictive of what to expect in the future. Ultimately, the exercise in uncovering preseason usefulness involves finely tuned research. Which offenses and defenses have the same coordinators, play callers, and leaders? What are they doing pre-snap? Because at least that information should tell us what to expect. Are the personnel, to the best of our knowledge, able to execute the system? Any clues that point you to answering these questions do make watching the preseason a worthwhile endeavor. But whatever you do, don't sweat the score. Thanks again for listening to this installment of the Football Analytics Show. This is Edward Egros. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram for my latest insights at EdWithSports. That's at EdWithSports. The Power Rank Sports Betting newsletter brings PhD-level analytics to football. The newsletter strives to be three things: valuable, concise, and entertaining. The content covers both the NFL and college football. To get this free service, sign up at thepowerrank.com. That is Ed Feng's site for betting information based on PhD analytics. Once again, that's thepowerrank.com. The Football Analytics Show is also sponsored by listeners like you. These kind, generous people also get access to a premium episode every month. If you choose to donate, you'll get access to an episode on home and rest advantage in football. To learn more, go to patreon.com/footballanalytics. Once again, that's patreon.com/footballanalytics. Thanks again for listening, and take care.